So you're thinking about making the move to Jacksonville and you've heard about the valuable homestead benefits that Florida homeowners can take advantage of, but you're not sure what that means. Well, in this video, I'm going to cover all of that. So let's get into it. If this is your first time to the channel, please hit like and subscribe below so that you can be the first to know about all things in the Jacksonville market. I'm Alice Toy with Compass, and I get calls from people just like you every day who are looking to make the move to Jacksonville. So whether you're moving next week, next month, or next year, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send an email so that I can help you make the smooth move to Jacksonville too. As a Florida homeowner, you're entitled to certain homestead benefits, and in this video, I'm going to cover the 3 major benefits that homesteaded properties have here in Florida. Before we dive into what those benefits are, let's talk a little bit about what it takes to qualify for a property to be a homestead here. One of the first requirements that you have to have for a homestead property is that the owner must reside in the property itself full-time. So it can't be a property that is owned by someone and their family lives in it. Whoever the homeowner is, they need to reside in that property full-time as their primary residence. The second requirement for a homesteaded property is that whoever the homeowner is, the property must be in that homeowner's name. And so for instance, it just can't be in a business or an LLC or a corporation. So if like an investment company is a corporation and they own it, they cannot homestead a property. It must be in a homeowner's name. The third requirement for a homesteaded property is that if it's located within a municipality, the size of the property must be half an acre or less. If it's outside the municipality, then it can be up to 160 acres. I'm not going to get into what it would mean if you owned an acre or more than half an acre in this video and how that would impact the homestead rule, but just know that you still have those benefits. It changes just a little bit if you were to own more than half an acre inside the municipality. Once a property meets those requirements, then it automatically becomes a homestead. And this homestead rule applies to the owner of the home and the owner's spouse and minor children that live in the house. And this is an important distinction because sometimes there could be a homeowner who owns the home and their spouse moves in with them. So maybe, the home is already owned by the owner and then they get married and the spouse moves in with the minor children. Even though the spouse is not on the deed of the home, they are still protected in these homestead rights. The first major benefit of having the homestead here in Florida is protection from creditors. So if you have a homestead property here in Florida and you have debt, let's say it's medical bills or it's credit cards or something like that, those creditors cannot come after your property to collect their debt. So they cannot put a lien against your house and they cannot force the sale of the home to get paid if the property is homesteaded. So this is going to apply to the homeowner and it applies to the spouse as well. So even if the spouse isn't on the deed, they cannot come after the house for that money. If the homeowner and the spouse are unmarried, this benefit would still transfer to the spouse even if the homeowner passed away. The second major benefit of having a homestead in Florida are the property tax benefits. So there's 3 property tax benefits that homeowners can take advantage of, and I'm going to break each one of those down in this section here. The first property tax benefit that homeowners can get for a homestead is the homestead property exemption. So the homestead exemption is something that homeowners need to apply for after they purchase a house. So you would go online or you could go to the county or you could go down to the county courthouse and you could apply in person. But basically you're going to file a piece of paper that proves that you're the homeowner and saying that it is your primary residence. Once they confirm this, you're going to receive a $50,000 reduction in the assessed value of your property. So this comes in hand when they're calculating your property taxes. So if they assess the value of your home at $250,000 and you've applied for the homestead exemption, it's going to knock down your assessed value to $200,000. So for instance, here in Duval County, if you have the homestead exemption on your property, it saves about $850 per year on your property taxes. The second property tax benefit that the homestead exemption gives is that it doesn't allow the value of your assessed taxes to increase by more than 3% in a year. So every year, the property tax appraiser is going to reassess the value of your home. If you have a homestead exemption on your property, they cannot raise the value of the property by more than 3%. So this is a wonderful protection, especially if you own the home long-term, because they're not able to increase the assessed value of your home by more than 3% per year. The third property tax benefit is a benefit that homeowners can get if they decide that they're going to move their homestead to a new property. So if you have a homestead on your primary residence and you decide that that's not the home for you anymore and you're either downsizing or upsizing and you're staying in Florida, you can take certain property tax benefits with you after you sell. So the best way to explain this to you is to just sort of give you a little example of how it would work. So Let's say that you bought a home for $200,000 and you put your homestead exemption on it. And however many years later, let's say 4 or 5 years later, you had really great appreciation and you were able to sell that house for $300,000. That's the new market value of the home. With this tax benefit, which is called portability, this allows you to take the increase in market value from when you bought it to when you sold and apply that as tax savings on your next homestead. So in this case, if you bought the house for $200,000 and then you sold it for $300,000, that difference of $100,000 is the portability tax benefit that you can take with you. Now the rules are a little different depending on whether you are upsizing or if you're downsizing. If you're upsizing, you get to take the full benefit. If you're downsizing, you get a percentage of that benefit. But the way that it would work is, let's say you had that $100,000 of portability benefit and you bought your new home, and let's say it's $400,000, and that is your new homestead. So you file for the homestead exemption. So once you file for that homestead exemption, you're going to get that initial $50,000 like we talked about earlier. But then in this case, you're also going to be able to apply that $100,000 difference. So instead of just getting the $50,000 reduction in your assessed value, you're going to take an additional $100,000 off of your assessed value, which is going to save you even more money on your property taxes. So that's a really great benefit that we have here in Florida that you can take advantage of. The third major benefit of homestead here in Florida are the transfer restrictions. Now, this part of the homestead benefit really is a benefit for spouses or minor children who are not on the deed of the home. So again, if there's an owner who owns the home and they're married, but the spouse is not on the deed, then these benefits transfer to the spouse if the homeowner dies. So for example, the property owner, if the spouse is not on the deed, the property owner cannot leave the house to someone else in their will. So if the property owner passes away and they are trying to will the house to a cousin or someone else, they cannot, because due to this homestead benefit, the property automatically goes to the spouse, even though that spouse is not on the deed. This also would be the case for minor children. Once the spouse inherits that property, they are going to have all the same homestead benefits for the remainder of their life, and it's called a life estate. And for the duration that the spouse is remaining in the home, all of the previous benefits of homestead exemptions and all of that still apply. So creditors can't come after the home. They are going to have the property tax exemptions, and the same transfer benefits if they had a minor child would happen if that spouse were also to pass away. I hope this video helped you learn a little bit more about the benefits of the homestead exemptions that we have here in Florida, and I hope to see you in the next video.